Evolution is the sequence of gradual change which take place in primitive organisms over millions of years and new species are produced. Since the evolution is of the living organisms, it is called organic evolution. Red beetles' color variation arises during reproduction. One beetle becomes green. Variation in color gave a survival advantage to green-colored beetle and hence it became common. Color variation arises during reproduction, and one beetle becomes blue. Elephant stamps on the bushes and by chance the beetles survived are mostly blue. Population grows again, but most beetles are now blue. Bushes start suffering from plant disease and the food material is reduced. The average weight of the beetle decreases. However, no genetic change occurs. After a few generations of such scarcity, the plant disease is eliminated. Beetles again increases to their weight. Speciation is the evolution of reproductive isolation among once interbreeding populations. When the population of the same species splits into subpopulations, which then get isolated from each other by geographical barriers such as sea mountain ranges. The geographical isolation of the subpopulations leads to their reproductive isolation. Classification of species is in fact a reflection of their evolutionary relationship. The more characteristics two species will have in common, the more closely they are related. The more closely they are related, the more recently they will have a common ancestor. Homologous organs, analogous organs, and fossils are evidences of evolution. Homologous organs have similar origin and basic structure but have been modified to perform different functions. For example, forelimbs of frog are used for jumping, forelimbs of lizard for running, forelimbs of bird for flying, and forelimbs of human for grasping. Analogous organs look similar but their origin is not common, as in the case of wings of a bird and wings of a bat. Wings of a bat are skin folds stretched mainly between elongated fingers, whereas wings of bird are feathery covering all along the arm. The structure of the two wings is thus very different but have common use for flying. Fossils are all the preserved traces or remains of living organisms of geological past. Kinds of fossils. Fossils are of various kinds depending upon their differences in appearance and degree of detail preservation. Fossil tree trunk, fossil invertebrate, fossil fish, fossil dinosaur. The complex body organs of animals such as eyes have been evolved in stages over many generations. First of all, the rudimentary eye like that of Planaria was formed. Starting from this basic design, more and more complex eyes were evolved in various organisms. Sometimes an evolutionary change produced in one organism for one purpose later on becomes more useful for an entirely different function. Feathers started out as a means of providing insulation in cold weather, but later on these feathers became useful for the purpose of flying in birds. Humans over 2,000 years through cultivation and artificial selection have generated different vegetables from wild cabbage plant. Cabbage with short distances between leaves. Broccoli with arrested flower development. Cauliflower with sterile flower. Kohlrabi with swollen parts. Kale with larger leaves. All humans are single species, the Homo sapiens. There is no biological basis to the notion of human races. Skin color is the most common way of identifying the so-called races. The genetic footprints of humans, Homo sapiens, show that all human beings have evolved from a single species evolved in Africa. A couple of 100,000 years ago, some of the residents spread across Africa and slowly to West Asia. Then some of them migrated to Central Asia, Eurasia, South Africa, and East Asia, to the islands of Indonesia and Philippines, to Australia and to America. They did not migrate in a single onward direction. They went forward and backward with groups sometimes separating from each other, sometimes coming back to mix with each other, even moving in and out of Africa.